So part 11 from Ryokan Dewdrops in a lotus leaf, on a lotus leaf. And part, it's, I'm going to continue. Inscription on my painting of a skull. All things born of karma disappear when that karma is exhausted. But where is this karma born? From whence does the first cause arise? Here words and thoughts are of no avail. I asked an old woman in the East about the matter, but she wasn't pleased. And the old fellow in the West just frowned and left. I wrote the problem on a rice cake and gave it to a puppy, but even it wouldn't bite. Realizing that such words are bad luck, I blended life and death into a pill and gave it to a weather-beaten skull. The skull suddenly leaped up, singing and dancing for me a spellbinding ballad that spanned past, present, and future. A marvelous dance that sported through the realm of samsara. The skull covered everything most thoroughly. I saw the moon set on Chang'an and heard its midnight bells. That's a strange poem of speculative Buddhism. I thought he didn't mess around with interesting solution though. Anyway, someday I'll be a weather-beaten skull resting on a grass pillow, serenaded by. Remember that Basho was a weather-beaten skeleton or something. So maybe he's thinking he must have been aware of Basho. Someday I'll be a weather-beaten skull resting on the grass pillow, serenaded by a stray bird or two. Kings and commoners end up the same, no more enduring than last night's dream. I descended to the valley to gather orchids, but the basin was blanketed with frost and dew, and it took all day to find the flowers. Suddenly I thought of an old friend, separated from me by miles of mountains and rivers. Will we ever meet again? I gazed towards the sky, tears streaming down my cheeks. Very emotional. Any comment? Comment? No? We meet only to part, coming and going like white clouds, leaving traces so faint hardly a soul notices. I have an old staff that has well served many. Its bark has worn away. All that remains is the strong core. I used it to test the waters, and often it got me out of trouble. Now, though, it leans against the wall, out of service for years. Strange, his staff just sits on the wall. Wonder why it came out of service. Anyways, in a dilapidated three-room hut, I've grown old and tired. This winter cold is the worst I've suffered through. I sip thin gruel, waiting for the freezing night to pass. Can I last until spring finally arrives? Unable to beg for rice, how will I survive the chill? Even meditation helps no longer. Nothing left to do but compose poems in memory of deceased friends. Here he has, day after day, snow falls. It must be a long, hard winter. Now he says, on the slope of Kugami, on the slope of Kugami, that's where he had his hut. In the mountain shade, how many years was this hut my home? Now it is time to leave it empty. My memory will fade like summer grasses. Back and forth I paced around it, and then walked away until the hut disappeared among the trees. As I walk, I keep walking back after each bend, looking back at that place. I took my staff and slowly made my way up to the hut where I spent so many years. The walls had crumbled, and it now sheltered foxes and rabbits. The well by the bamboo grove was dry. The thick cobwebs covered the window where I once wrote by moonlight. The steps were overrun with wild weeds, and a lone cricket sang in the bitter cold. I walked about fitfully, unable to tear myself away as the sun set sadly. Oh, and then it wants to went back to visit the hut. Here he says, an abandoned hut. Those plum blossoms we once floated in are wine. Now the flowers are scattered unnoticed all over the ground. There's caged birds. Time and again, you too must long for your old nest deep in the mountains. Hmm. Hmm. The next session on 12 is going to be, because I'm going to stop, the next session is going to be love poems between Ryokan and Tishin. That'll be session 12. Reading from Ryokan. Ryokan is Ryokan's is a, what do they call him? Zen Buddhist priest. There he is. He lived in a hut like that. They have these huts now. They created a hut like that replicates his hut in Olympia Zen Center. In must be Washington. Hmm. Here is a preview to the next session. Here's, see here is Ryokan and Tishin. Ryokan and Tishin. And here they are. Tishin is a nun, Buddhist nun, and there's Ryokan. Hmm. Hmm. 12. There's the flowers that he was looking for. There's the flowers. The orchids. What else? There's the Zen Fool Ryokan we're reading from. Not, it's a different book. What else? End of section 11.